Today is Thursday, December 19th. We'll tell you about two big controversial bills in Congress, one that just passed, another that's facing a new setback, threatening a government shutdown just before Christmas. Also, what the Federal Reserve announced that led to a historic fall on Wall Street. Plus, the first statewide emergency over bird flu, an update on TikTok's mission to keep its app available in America, and the trendy animal of the season, why you may notice capybaras everywhere. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, lawmakers have had two big things on their to-do list before going home for winter break at the end of this week, and they're both controversial. Well, so far, just one of them has passed. That one is the defense policy bill. It's needed to make sure American troops keep getting paid and military families continue to be supported. This year, it gives pay raises to all enlisted service members, funds nuclear modernization, expands America's presence in the Indo-Pacific region, and more. And most lawmakers on both sides of the aisle were happy about all of that. But there was doubt about whether the bill would pass since Republicans added a measure to keep the military's health program from covering transgender-related healthcare for service members' kids. Republicans also removed a provision that would have expanded access to in vitro fertilization or IVF. And Democrats were against both of those actions. Either way, it's been approved now. Enough Democrats eventually came around saying their votes were justified because of all the good in the bill. The other must-pass bill up for debate this week looks to be even more polarizing, and the stakes are even higher. So for weeks, congressional leaders have been working on a deal, and they announced a bipartisan solution over the weekend that would fund the government at current levels until March. Plus, that deal specifically includes emergency aid for communities hit by natural disasters, economic assistance for struggling farmers, funding to rebuild Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, money for childcare, workforce training, and job placement, a pay raise for lawmakers, and more. And at first, it was expected to pass. But then President-elect Trump told Republicans if they did support it, they'd be primaried. And that means he'd recruit another Republican to beat them the next time they're up for re-election. Trump wants the GOP to limit the bill to just an extension of the current funding levels without what he called Democrat giveaways. And he wants the measure to raise the national debt ceiling before the issue comes up next year. The problem is, if some kind of measure doesn't pass by the end of this week, the government is set to shut down. And that could disrupt everything from air travel to law enforcement in the days leading up to the holidays. Lawmakers were seen talking about options late last night, but last word from congressional leaders was they're not sure what's going to happen next. So remember how President-elect Trump's first choice for Attorney General faced ethics concerns? Former Congressman Matt Gaetz was the subject of a long-running investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct and drug use. He eventually took his name out of the running for Trump's AG. But now it looks like the findings from the ethics investigation are about to come out anyway. The House committee who did the investigation held a secret vote and decided to release the report. This even after a public vote last month when members voted along party lines not to release it. Well, now that plans have changed, Gaetz has started to explain himself. He wrote on X that he, quote, probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked more than I should have. Gaetz said none of it was criminal, but embarrassing. The Justice Department did already do its own investigating and decided not to charge Gaetz with any crimes. The ethics report is expected to come out by the end of this week. The Federal Reserve decided to make its third and final rate cut of the year. Like last month, the Fed brought its key interest rate down by 1/4 percentage point. But then the central bank made a prediction that there would be fewer cuts than expected next year. Why? Well, it projected higher inflation next year. And with that, Wall Street tumbled. All major indexes logged their worst day in months. And it extended the Dow's worst losing streak in 50 years. As you know, it's all a balancing act for Fed officials. They want to keep high interest rates from unnecessarily slowing down the economy, but they don't want the economy to grow so much that inflation keeps getting worse. For now, the benchmark rate is between 4.25% and 4.5%. Millions of Americans are now under winter storm warnings. Today is expected to bring the heaviest snowfall of the season to the upper Midwest, followed by winds. And then the coldest temperatures of the season, not just to the upper Midwest, but also the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and beyond. Forecasts are calling for anywhere from 3 to 9 inches of snow today, including in big cities like Minneapolis and Green Bay. The widespread cold snap is expected to start tomorrow, with high temperatures up to 20 degrees below normal. For now, meteorologists say the most intense snow and cold should be over by the middle of next week, just in time for Christmas and Hanukkah. All right, we have more news for you still coming up, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Trade Coffee. We've all been there scrambling for a last-minute gift that doesn't feel last-minute. With Trade, you can send a coffee subscription directly to someone's inbox in minutes. It's fast, easy, and guaranteed to impress. I love that gifting a Trade subscription is not just gifting coffee. It's an experience. I can tell you from having a Trade subscription myself that it makes drinking coffee so much more enjoyable. I love getting that fresh bag of coffee in the mail, feeling the excitement of trying something new, and sipping on delicious tasting coffee that I know is high quality. So when you gift this type of experience to a loved one, they'll think of you every time they get a new freshly roasted coffee perfectly matched to their taste from one of the top small batch roasters in the USA. So, are you ready to cross that last gift off your list? Trade Coffee is offering their best savings of the year on gift subscriptions right now. So head to drinktrade.com/newsworthy to send a personalized coffee subscription in minutes. Again, go to drinktrade.com/newsworthy while Trade is offering their best savings of the year on gift subscriptions. Now back to the news. Well, the so-called murder hornet has been eradicated from the United States. Its actual name is the northern giant hornet. They're native to Asia, but they first invaded a corner of Washington state back in 2019, though no one is sure exactly how they got here. We've talked about them on the show a few times over the years. They're huge. They can grow up to 2 inches long, or about the size of an adult thumb, though they're mostly a danger to honeybees and other pollinators. Apparently, they can kill an entire beehive in just about 90 minutes. That said, they can also be a threat to humans. Their long stingers can poke through beekeeping suits, and a swarm attack can be deadly. So it was a high priority to make sure this threat was contained as quickly as possible. Now, 5 years after they were first found in Washington, they're officially eradicated, which basically means they haven't been detected in the U.S. for 3 years. Scientists who worked on the eradication effort credited the media and the public for chipping in with reports of suspected murder hornet nests and other tips. In fact, half of officials' confirmed detections came from the public. Officials acknowledged the so-called murder hornets could return to the U.S. in the future, but for now at least, they're calling this a landmark victory. The U.S. has reported its first severe human case of bird flu. The CDC says a Louisiana patient is in critical condition with respiratory symptoms. Though it's worth noting, the person was considered high risk as they have underlying medical conditions, are over 65, and came in contact with an infected backyard flock of birds. And the CDC is asking people not to panic, since severe cases have happened sporadically in other countries without sparking a full-blown outbreak. It says the risk to the general public is still low. But this does come on the heels of a few other mild cases in farm workers and thousands of infected chickens and dairy cows. Yesterday, California declared the first statewide emergency over the bird flu since hundreds of dairy farms have been infected in the state. Governor Gavin Newsom says the state of emergency will allow California to better streamline services, including testing and monitoring, and more. It looks like the U.S. Supreme Court will have the final say on whether TikTok will be banned in the U.S. starting next month. The nation's highest court agreed to hear a case over the law that requires the wildly popular Chinese-owned app to be sold before January 19th or else be banned in America. It was just a couple of weeks ago that a federal appeals court said the law was okay, so the Supreme Court is TikTok's last option. Now, justices say they will fast-track this case, so they'll hear oral arguments on January 10th before the ban kicks in. They'll be asked the same question as the lower courts. Is this law constitutional? If the court decides no, it will not go into effect and nothing changes with TikTok. If the court decides yes, the law is constitutional, it will be up to President-elect Trump and his team to enforce it. And some legal experts say there are ways for his administration not to enforce it. It's not really clear what Trump will decide to do since he's made conflicting statements about TikTok in the past. Earlier this week, he said he had a warm spot in his heart for TikTok since he believes it helped him gain ground with young voters during the election cycle. But he's also tried to ban the app himself during his first term, citing national security concerns because of TikTok's Chinese parent company. One other option, if the court rules against TikTok and Trump decides not to intervene, the incoming Congress could also choose to repeal the law. So, to be continued. You can now call ChatGPT whenever you want to talk with the artificial intelligence chatbot. The company behind ChatGPT, OpenAI, announced an 800 number that gives 15 minutes of free conversation to anyone with a U.S. phone number. All you have to do is dial 1-800-CHAT-GPT, and you'll be connected to the chatbot's advanced voice mode feature, which allows real-time conversation. For example, here's a short clip of what it sounded like when I called.
You agree to OpenAI's terms and privacy policy. So, how can I help you today?
Can you tell me your name?
Sure, I'm ChatGPT, an AI developed by OpenAI. I'm here to assist you with information, answer questions, and help out with whatever you need.
The 15 free minutes you get is per phone number per month, so you won't be able to have daily chats with your new AI friend. OpenAI also announced a text feature. WhatsApp users around the world can send messages to the same 800 number after adding it to their contacts. The company says this is a way to introduce more people to AI, especially those who may be more comfortable talking on phones, and you don't need a ChatGPT account to call the chatbot. OpenAI also said it will not be using the contents of the phone calls to train its large language models. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. I love so much about my life, but let's be honest, life's list of things to do is a bit much sometimes. So I welcome any tools to help make it all easier. And when it comes to finding the right doctor and making appointments, Zocdoc can help me cross those off my list so much faster. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, or are a good fit for any medical need, and who are highly rated by verified patients. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. So whenever I need a new doctor, I check Zocdoc. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/newsworthy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Zocdoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Capybaras have been popular on the internet for years now, but one particular baby capybara has outdone all who have come before him. Baby Tupi was born at the San Antonio Zoo on December 3rd, the first capybara born there in a quarter of a century. Capybaras are the largest rodent in the world, native to South America, and are known for giving off what appears to be a supremely chill vibe and spending large amounts of time swimming. Almost as soon as the zoo announced Tupi's birth last week, he went viral, to the point that San Antonio Zoo had to say it was not affiliated with a cryptocurrency that had been named after him. Shoppers can also find capybara slippers, purses, robes, and bath bombs online. Other popular holiday gifts have been capybara bedding, t-shirts, mugs, keychains, and so on. Though there's no telling whether that's all for Tupi or just a case of capybara fever. Other years have had their own popular animals featured on gift items like owls, hedgehogs, and sloths. All right, thank you so much for listening today and making us part of your daily routines. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.